Yo, what's up, guys? We're back at it again with another video. It's going to be a Hunter chapter review. We're going to keep it pretty brief, pretty simple. This chapter has honestly already been out for about a week. It's another dialogue heavy chapter, which has been all 5 chapters so far of this batch, which tracks. We've needed a lot of exposition on really how things are going to go in the Secession War going forward. So chapters like this are honestly expected. If we're still just getting a 10 batch, I would expect probably the next like half of the chapters to be a little more action based. Still going to be a lot of dialogue. Obviously, there's a lot of moving parts and a lot of stuff going on, but we're probably going to start seeing some more action stuff here in the next couple chapters. But this chapter was 415. It was titled, let's see, Authenticity. So we actually start with Furycov, which is pretty cool, and we start 2 months before the voyage began, where he begins conjuring his own Nin ability, which is what does he call it? I don't remember. I know it's like the Full Metal Alchemist, but I don't remember what the second part of it's called. But essentially, he's able to conjure a laptop, and it's with this laptop that he's able to do all kinds of stuff. He can do research, he can find out about curses and stuff on him, he can like research weapons, armor, tools to use based on the ability he's trying to use it against or the person, etc. Pretty cool. The way that they show it on the laptop and all, it's like really cool drawing. Like, I love it, all the little images they give. But Furycov actually notices that he has a curse on him because there's like a little tag next to like a symbol that I'm guessing implies the curse. So it tells him that he is cursed. And then it lets him click on affected users to see who that is, and he only sees 2. One being him, and one being somebody that's blanked out that you can't see. And he then decides, he starts thinking, there's somebody besides me who got cursed, and because they're listed that they received this curse, they must have got it at the same time I did. He's wondering if it's somebody in the prince's personal guard as well, or if it's just related to the secession battle. But he does realize that the alert popped up. He says an alert pops up when there is a phase manipulative attack or a covert nin attack that causes a curse or illness. And when he checked this morning, it was fine, but then it happened sometime today because now he has it. And what happened today was the seed urn ritual. So during the seed urn ritual happening and the prince joining the contest, we now know is what made the curses on Beyond's like curselings, his children, unfortunately, all go into effect. It was once their prince that their curse corresponds with enters the contest, that person is then like their curse essentially turns on. So realizing how that this had to be involved with the secession war, he instantly comes to the conclusion that this other person had to be Beyond Netero. So he reaches out to Beyond in order to get some understanding of what's going on here. And I'll be honest, I think at this point he already knew that he was Beyond's child. I'm not sure how he knew, but I believe Furycov was aware because Beyond states it pretty nonchalantly here shortly. But essentially, Furycov goes to interrogate Beyond to understand what this curse is about, how it works, like what the deal is. And honestly, it's really cool dialogue back and forth between the two because it's Furycov trying to figure out what the curse is, how it affects him, what it's going to do, who it's going to affect, right? How this plays into the secession war, and will this hurt Prince Benjamin, which to him is like the person he cares about the most in this world. So it's like top priority, Cockeen and Prince Benjamin, and then everything else along with that, right? And he does realize that the greatest lies are founded in truth, and just due to how Beyond is between being essentially a narcissist and having this like essentially this thought that he could never be caught. He uses everybody around him as pawns, that his plan is so great that it like nobody else can pick up on it, that there's going to be a lot of truth woven into the bullshit and the lies that he's telling Furycov whenever he asks him questions. So what we do get to understand from this chapter is that the curse, again, activates when the prince joins the Seed Urn ritual. They officially join the secession contest. Boom, curse turns on. The curse is linked, like we had heard, from Longhi, 1-to-1. One curseling, one prince. When curseling dies, prince dies. Alright? With that, he then begins to ask questions like, am I connected to Prince Benjamin? Exactly how does it work? And Beyond pretty much tells him, yeah, no, you can use your ability or however you figured out that you're cursed to figure that out, but I can't give you all that information. I'm not going to do all that. But I will give you the basic details, which is what he told him about how the basics of it works. You die, another prince will die. This works out good for you because for the Secession War, this helps protect your Prince Benjamin and get him closer to winning. Plus, once you die, your ability just moves on to Prince Benjamin. So, really, he's good to go. But Furikov worries. Who is it going to be, though, that I'm connected to? I've really got to figure this out. So he goes to actually use his ability to try to use his ability. He has to be around the person that he's trying to use it on to figure out whether it's their curse, their ability, like their power, whatever it is. He has to be around them for a certain amount of time for his computer to be able to analyze them. Then after after analyzing is done, it takes about twice as long for it to then craft a weapon, armor, or a tool or something he can use to either like defeat the ability or to power it up, right? So he goes to look this up on his computer. How long is it going to take for him to analyze the curse? To decipher the curse, it's going to take a year. An entire year when the Secession War begins in 2 months. And then it says it'll take at least 700 days, roughly, to conjure a potion based on what the results are to cure him from the curse. So it's going to take 3 years. Upon seeing this, Furikov is just shocked. He realizes there's nothing I can do myself to get rid of this curse then. And that this curse had to be put in place this way in order to make it hard for exorcists to decipher the curse and purify it or cure it themselves. That way, Beyond's plan is pretty much locked in. Once they join the Secession War and this curse activates, they're pretty much locked in with nothing they can do. Furikov goes on to insult Beyond, where Beyond then responds with essentially, just telling him, I'll cut you some slack for your language due to your loyalty to Cockeen and to Benjamin. You're very loyal. That's all you care about is figuring this out for him. Out of that and the respect for that, I'll cut you some slack. And not to mention that we are family. So if he didn't know now, Furikov is officially told that he is the child of Beyond. But he does say that in the Secession battle, there's only one path to receive protection from the Guardian Spirit Beast, and that's by taking the place of the king and gaining the country's prosperity. So the founded king seems to have some form of, I wouldn't call it immortality, but some great divine protection from their Spirit Beast, probably beyond the basic level of protection all the princes get with theirs. I'm guessing winning the contest, maybe your beast then upgrades, and it gains more power to be able to protect them. I'm not sure, but that's how I kind of had that understood. Beyond just tells Furikov, look, if you just take out all the princes before you guys even make it to the new continent, right? The soul heir will be selected, Benjamin, there you go, and everything will be fine. And Furikov realizes that the reason he's doing this is because Beyond needs a kind of a command center, and he wants to use Cockeen for that. So he wants to be in close with the next king. That's why he's taking part in the Secession War in this way, not himself actually in it, but kind of rigging it so that way he can make sure whoever wins is going to be based on his schemes, and then because that person will owe him, or it'll be because of him that person wins, he'll be in closer with the king, that or it'll be a king that he thinks he can already influence more. But he's going to want to use Cockeen as his central hub for going back and forth from the New World and probably getting provisions and all that. After they get off the phone, Furikov begins to look into. He realizes that he has to figure out how this Nin curse works, and he just frantically gets back onto his Nin computer to use his ability to try to figure out anything he can. Because he needs to figure out what exactly is true out of what Beyond said and what is lie in order to protect Benjamin and himself and Cockeen. That was most of the chapter. From there, we actually move away to who you probably would have guessed is Kurapika and Oito. We're in the room. We're actually getting the details as to how Oito can send out this letter, and it's supposedly going to make it to her sister, who has the actual Prince Wobble, right? Whether she's on the ship or not. But the word will get to her. And the way that we pretty much have this explained to us is, the best way to explain it, is that the prince or the queen will use a couple different types of writing. So in this case, it's katakana and kanji and hiragana in order to write Cockeen. And because of this, it tells the person who's going to be reading it, if they didn't know that was the code, which she says that, the people who are connected are going to know that this is the code and know that it's her. And anybody who doesn't will just think that she's slightly less literate. She's not fluent in the language. So it's pretty much like encrypted in a way where it should be pretty protected. Kurapika, though, is very worried about sending out mail. And we actually get a really cool kind of image where it's him split in half with nearly the same face. One's just a little more disappointed, I'd say, than the other, or a little more sad than the other. But he's kind of going over, can we use the mail? What are the odds? Is this person, like, are they actually going to be able to receive this mail? Can they actually get it and then make use of it and do what we need and meet up with who we need them to, all within a timely manner while they have Wobble? And then also, the worst case, the military finds out. They then end up essentially just killing the queen and her family for once they figure out the whole where Wobble is and that whole situation. And then he also mentions, but I can't imagine the sister would trust those two boys if they suddenly show up without warning, claiming to be Hunter associates. Guys, this without a doubt means that, in my eyes, Gon and Killua are re-entering the story. Not right now, but pretty soon. Next batch, the next batch. It's coming. Because this implies that Kurapika in that last chapter wasn't just thinking, if we need to, I can get their help on the outside. He's now essentially saying, yeah, we can get word out there and have them get these words to them, and then we're going to have them meet up, and Gon and Killua are going to come help us out. Or help at least Prince Wobble, the sister, that whole situation out. Which is, I mean, wild. We have been wondering for a while how we were ever going to get Gon and Killua introduced back into the story, because we assumed they probably would be, but depends on how fast Togashi writes the story, where it's all going, because after we finish the Secession War, we still have the Dark Continent, right? We still, in theory, have Gyro. Lot of stuff going on. But back to it. That's a claim that he makes in this chapter. So because of that, I do believe Killua and Gon are going to be coming back to us sooner than I would have thought. I thought they were going to be gone for a long time. But after coming to the conclusion as to what they should do, Kurapika decides that they're going to go ahead and try to send out the postcards anyways, because they need the information above all else. So Kurapika goes out, talks to Bobby Mina. He tells him that that Queen Oito would like to send these to the dealer service. You know, he wants you to inspect them. Bobby Mina says they actually don't do the inspections anymore and that they can just be sent out. So they take them up to the courier and they get sent out right away. Then special martial law is declared. All over the ship, we kind of see different reactions in Sharidnik's room, in the second queen's room. Lots of places. We see Bisky, we see Tubepa and her situation, but pretty much all the princes are being called to go meet up in the same room with Benjamin, where it'll supposedly be just the princes and their guards, or just the princes and their unarmed guards at the very most, and Benjamin, supposedly there. It seems as though Sharidnik had no intention of going to meet up, like him and his current teacher are just sitting there, and the teacher's actually wondering, what should we do? Anything? It's special martial law. What should we do? And Sharidnik still looks like he's just practicing his Zetsu, or practicing his ability. I'm waiting to see Sharidnik make a move, because it seemed to me, based on the last batch, that the only princes that we knew of that were not captured were pretty much Zhonglei and Luzurus. So, and now I think there might have been said that there was 3. My thought is the third one's Miriam, because we get to see Pudding, or not. Forgive me, I just said Pudding. We get to see Bisky in this chapter, and she kind of comes up with the plan as to what they're going to do with this whole martial law being declared. Tubepa decides that she doesn't really have a choice. She's just going to have her scientists continue to do their research. She's going to head off and go ahead and go to the room. She doesn't have a choice. We see Tyson head into the room. Zhonglei's guards are looking for him, and so are Luzurus's guards and the Hunter associates. Both of the princes have gone missing. We then actually see the Hunter associate talking to, or a couple of the Hunter associates talking, and kind of going over what exactly happened with Prince Benjamin's guard that is now tied up. And he just states, I went into the break room, and he had already killed the 7th prince's guards before martial law was even declared. That's going to get him in trouble. But he is then thinking, being Prince Benjamin's guard, timestamps can be fudged later. The fact remains that this is the objective proof a Hunter associate attacked me, Benjamin's personal guard, and detained me. Now the Hunter associates, Luzurus's guards, and the Charar family connected to them behind the scenes will all be eliminated for treason. Serves you right. I don't actually think that's what's going to happen. I'm sure they could just fudge the timestamps like you say in here, but I just don't see that being the case. I don't think this is going to go the way that Buddy here wants it to go. We then see one of the queens, I believe it is the mother of Fugetsu, being told that she needs to get into the same room in order to be protected. We then cut to the room with Bisky in it and Miriam, and Bisky's kind of going over the whole scenario as to what's happening. She can tell that Prince Benjamin's guard is more tense, right? And so that there is something happening. And she begins weighing the options. If martial law has been declared and they need to get evacuated out of the room, or they're being told they have to leave, what should they do? Because if they leave the room, they're not going to be able to come back in. None of the guards will be able to come back in at all once they leave. That's just it. They're done. And if they send Miriam out there and only his guards can go with them from the military, Miriam is essentially going to be alone. His guards are absolutely useless, right, compared to anybody else. So Miriam will be absolutely boned. But at the same time, right, if they refuse, they could end up getting in trouble for treason. Bisky also then states that there is a chance that because of how Prince Miriam's ability works, that this could be a one-time or very limited time use ability, where he might only get to use this pocket dimension once because it's creating such a massive area and it's using such a massive amount of nin, and he doesn't have any special training and it's not draining him. Therefore, if that's the case, she deposits that it has to be that either it's a one-time use or the creature will essentially have to hibernate, probably for a long period of time before it can use the ability again. If that is true and they leave and the prince leaves, they're done. They have no more defense. So she weighs her options and decides what they're going to do. And to me, while she says they cannot fight, they have to weather the siege, I believe it is more likely that she is not going to let the prince leave. That they are just going to handle the guards that are in there with him, and they're not going to let any other guards in. That is my guess, based on what she says. But because she says that they cannot fight, it would kind of make you think, oh, well, they can't fight the guard. That's literally what she's saying. I don't think that's the case. But we then cut back over to Kurapika, Noito, and Bobby Mina for the very end of the chapter. Bobby Mina gets some information given to him by Benjamin. Benjamin pardoned the swapped prince due to his lack of capacity to assume responsibility. But he does say that Oito, as of now, is being placed into custody because, until Prince Wobble is located, she is still a prospective queen mother. She's not actually going to be prosecuted at the moment, but if she steps outside, of her room at any point, she'll be considered a fugitive because they're going to make the assumption that Prince Wobble is on the boat and she's heading to go get Prince Wobble. Right? She says okay, and Kurapika begins to think that that's the exact case and why that's happening, but also that if special martial law is being declared, it would help them find Wobble, but that's not why they're doing this. This happened before that, or this was already coming into effect. So if martial law is coming up, it's another reason that it's being declared. So he's trying to piece together what the other thing happening could be that's causing special martial law. Which really, in my head, I think it's just that Prince Benjamin found out that he was infected with that TSK. I think it's like TSK 17. And he now knows that he is limited on time. So he's got to pull them all into one room and handle as many of them as he can. Whether he kills them all right there or whatever he's got to do. He's got to handle the contest as quick as possible now. He doesn't have any time to wait. So we'll see where the next chapter picks back up. My guess is, of course, we'll see Kurapika again. I'd like to see more of Bisky and Miriam in their room and see what's happening. I love seeing Saradnik. He is the prince to watch, in my opinion, right now, more than anybody else. But I got a feeling we're going to see Prince Benjamin again next chapter. So, with that being said, I do want to keep this about as short as I can. I've yapped on long enough trying to get through this chapter for you guys. It was a good chapter, very dialogue heavy. Honestly, really well drawn out like normal. I love the way that Togashi's kind of dropping in information from the past and the present kind of intertwined to kind of let us understand kind of all the moving parts going on in the different heads of all of the different people involved in the Secession War, because they all have different information and, different perspectives. So we're kind of getting, I feel like, more of that from kind of getting them at these intervals. Really good stuff. But anyways, like I said, if you guys are still around, go ahead and leave a like down on the video, comment down below, let me know what you guys thought of the chapter, subscribe to the channel so that way you guys don't miss anything else, and I'll be back around for another video soon. Later, guys. Bye.